Hello, and welcome to my live stream on Your Spiritual Journey Facebook group. It's the first live stream of the year 2020. Today is January 7th, 2020. And today we're going to bring about the NDE of Hannah Robinson. And it started a whole life search for her. She had a very interesting NDE. She actually wrote a book on it called Dying to Be Free. Now, what I'm doing is in my book, The Spirit World Talks to Us, I'm giving a series of these talks. And here's my book, The Spirit World Talks to Us 12 Accounts from Near Death and Other Experiences. And what I do is I take people's near death experiences and I interpret them using what was sent to us by high spirits to spiritist mediums. Now, Spiritism was first created actually codified, I should say, in the 1850s. And it was codified by Allan Kardec. What he did is he asked a series of 1,019 questions to mediums, and he used different mediums in different geographical areas. He used the same questions, and he only compiled the answers if different mediums had the same or very similar answers to this same question. Now, since then, there's been many other spiritist mediums. Allan Kardec was a medium. He was a codifier. But there's been other very famous mediums like Chico Xavier from Brazil, Leon Denis, the Reverend G. Valvo, and others who bring us the codification and give us more information about the other side, the spirit world. If you'd like to learn more about the beginnings of Spiritism, if you have Netflix, I strongly recommend you watch the movie Kardec, Kardec, on Netflix. It's a great movie. It tells all about how he was not spiritual at all. He didn't believe this. And then he started going into some seances and they started answering questions, and the rest is history, as they say. So it's extremely interesting. Spiritism is the third revelation given to us by the Spirit of Truth as promised by Jesus in the New Testament. And what it came in the 1850s is it came to us because we are technologically and culturally ready for more information that was given in the New Testament. Now, of course, everybody knows the New Testament is full of parables and allegories, and they kind of talk about things, but don't really give you concrete, states. Well, according to how you interpret. But Spiritism tells you about heaven, tells you why you're on earth, tells you you are an immortal soul. You reincarnate over and over again until you reach perfection, tells you why good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. It explains it. Well, I tell you, when I first read the Spirit's book, it was like a light going on. It just was amazing. So what I've done is I've written quite a few books about Spiritism, explaining different aspects. And one of the books I've written is The Spirit World Talks to Us. And what I use that is to interpret people's NDEs, because NDEs, they uncannily correspond to the Spiritist doctrine. So let's carry on and let's get right into Hannah Robinson's. Now, Hannah Robinson experienced just the first few stages of a near-death experience, and one of detachment from her body and a feeling of complete peace and love. Yet, this small episode embarked her on a self-discovery of her life and her relationship with her father. Now, how did I come to this NDE? I received an email asking me to write a few sentences to put on a back cover of a book in preparation for publication. The title intrigued me, and since I'm interested in interpreting near-death experiences, by analyzing how the doctrine of Spiritism applies to the cases I am fortunate to read, I attempt to decipher what the spirit realm is trying to tell each individual. I strongly believe that a NDE doesn't happen by mere chance. The spirit world, who has a vested interest in the future of all of us, selects those who would most profit with the time out from school and a bit of one-on-one counseling. A soul is allowed to fully leave the body and engage in a scenario that is tailored to be the most pertinent to the individual. Some are led on a discovery of the universe and its marvels. Others are shown the lower zones and the wasteland that could be in their future. Many sit in an office or at a table and discuss their successes or failures in their curriculum they have lived through so far. We have to know, for those who are interested in the spirit world and why we are here, that Earth is a campus and we are all students who are obliged to take the lessons assigned to us to heart. Whereas we must all fully absorb what has been determined by the Spirit Supreme Intelligence to be critical for our intended spiritual growth. Our collective destinies while on this planet is composed of a series of edifying experiences, all designed to enable us to pay our past debts and to accumulate knowledge to eventually graduate to be a high spirit. Reading the manuscript of Dying to Be Free, I was struck by the subtle manipulation of the spirit world to guide Hannah onto her spiritual path. Here is what I wrote in 3 paragraphs about her book. Hannah Robinson has written a truly moving narrative which encompasses the arc of her life and her search for answers. From her birth to a mother who was rejected by her Catholic priest to be lover, to Hannah's secret search to meet her father, who wished the whole episode swept away, to her near death experience, which set her on a quest to explore what this unexpected brief visit to the spirit realm should mean to her. Hannah guides us from her initial rejection of organized religion to her realization of a higher spiritual directive which, unbeknownst to many of us, intersects all of our lives. Hannah illustrates that by examining the trials we suffer through and researching the experiences of others, we can come to a rational comprehension of a divine spirituality. Only by understanding the goals of the spirit world, which sets us in situations to heal our past wrongs and learn the importance of love and fraternity, can the intricate threads of people's short stay on earth be put in perspective. Hannah's experience is the epitome of the saying that truth can set you free. So that's what I wrote for her to use, however she would like to help uh, publicize her book. So my impression is that Hannah's life is a sterling example of the part karma plays in our life and how the spirit world sets the required signals to push us along the path to the truth of our past actions. So let's talk about karma. I always say that the problem is the solution, which I have postulated before, and is perfectly illuminated by the examples of Hannah's life, which has revolved around a father who not only abandoned her and wished to forget about her very existence, but he was also a religious figure, a priest who should have stood for love and caring, but instead demonstrated the exact opposite of what the Catholic Church should stand for. Hannah experienced not only disappointment with her father, but was repeatedly failed by other Catholic officials concerned with her case. It was as if the world had conspired against her, causing extreme distress and emotional suffering. All for a purpose. Every detail was arranged in advance to present Hannah an opportunity to work through what had happened in a previous life. So let's go for her story. The birth of Anna was a result of a love affair between 2 college students, her mother pursuing a theology degree and her father in a seminary with the aim of becoming a priest. When the discovery that Anna's mother was pregnant occurred, he, the father, wanted the problem to disappear. Hannah's mother and father went to seek guidance from a senior member of the Catholic Church, and her mother was encouraged to leave the vicinity and go to a place where she could have the baby and then give it up for adoption. Instead, Hannah's mother insisted on keeping the child and fought with the church to make sure the father contributed toward the upkeep of his daughter. In Hannah's book, she recounts the letters and discussions her mother had with the Catholic administrators, who at all times seemed focused on keeping Hannah and her mother as remote as possible from the newly minted priest. Given the hardship of raising a child by herself, Hannah and her mother lived in modest circumstances. As Anna grew up, she wished to make contact with her father. Only at the age of 14 was she able, through the permission of the church, to meet him. Now, Hannah, excuse me, Hannah painfully exposes her daydreams as a 14-year-old and tells us of the reality of the actual meeting. The tone is really told in one sentence, full of meaning. There was no warmth, there was a calm civility. So, what happened was Hannah and her mother experienced the full power of a bureaucratic organization, which extended maximum energy in defending themselves by presenting to the world the face of a loving and caring institution under the divine influence of Jesus Christ. Detecting the absolute absence of interest from her father, who could deny Hannah's impression of religions in general, she rebelled against society and all that it stood for. If it didn't love her, she wouldn't love it. In the revelations of Spiritism, we are told again and again how disappointed the spirit realm was with this Catholic Church. In the book On the Way to the Light by Francisco Chico C. Xavier, dictated to him by the Spirit Emmanuel, the spirit world had one of Jesus' apostles come back to earth as St. Francis of Assisi. His mission was to attempt to remind the church that they existed to serve and not to be served. As Hannah's feelings of abandonment increased, her life descended into excessive drinking and partying, until one day she and a girlfriend flew to Tenerife, whereupon, after nights of drinking, she had an accident. So let's talk about her NDE. Hannah found herself feeling better than she ever had. She felt like a new person, full of life and joy. Then she discovered she wasn't actually inside her body, but above it. Hannah experienced the ocean of warmth and love that flows over and throughout their entire being that so many others tell us about after their NDE episodes. While bathed in that shining light of love, Hannah made the connection with her spirit consciousness. She discovered herself. She knew who she was, more than just Hannah of one life, but Hannah complete, Hannah of the spirit world. Hannah wrote, "Everything felt just so right, so perfect. I could think with a clarity I couldn't remember experiencing before, but there was no need to plan and overthink. Everything was absolutely fine as it was." So I believe at that precise moment, Anna realized her life had been going in the direction that was planned for her. She was at the right place at the right time in the frame of mind expected for her development in her present life. So let's talk about how could this be preordained? Are things predetermined? Well, yes, our trials are predetermined. What exact events in a previous life did Hannah commit to set the stage for her current existence? We will not know until Hannah returns to the other side and tells us, if she is so inclined. There are several different methods to determine our less than stellar performances in previous lives. One process, which I use a lot, is to examine the trials we are given. That which we must live through is a mirror of what we parceled out. Therefore, was Hannah a member of a very powerful organization that stood for goodness, yet manifested itself simply as a device to enrich its inner core? For Hannah to have been caught in the middle of a storm, from an innocent child to a grown woman, to be constantly thwarted from acquiring justice, is either a classic case of random events harming unlucky people, or a well thought out plan to teach her a valuable life lesson. Who could live through what Hannah experienced and not bring to the bottom of his or her heart the massive amount of injustice done by men who profess to be our conduit to salvation and God? I have no doubt that going forward, Hannah would ever allow such a travesty to occur to anyone if it was in her power to stop it. Hannah's unseen problem entering into her life was probably her disregard for others in her pursuit of a comfortable position within a large institution. The solution, engineered by the spirit world, with her cooperation, was carefully diagrammed. She was to be on the receiving end. Only in that manner could bad habits be burned out of her being. To all of this, to all of us, it sounds like a cruel lesson indeed, does it not? Why can't we all just sit down and discuss it? Well, sometimes that works. But keep in mind, we are spirits. who by our free will chose the path of our lives on earth and selected the curriculum in which we live our short existences, passing from one class to another until completion, sorry. Most likely, a pattern had been detected that required stronger action. As a surgeon must cut away the cancer from a body to save the patient, certain behaviors must be removed to ensure future lives dedicated to helping others. Instead of amassing wealth and position, Hannah would concentrate on dispensing love and forgiveness. The second method is to analyze what we have not been allowed to have, either limitations in our mental and physical selves or basic human needs, such as a loving wife or husband or children. It could also mean that we may be born in extreme poverty. It could also mean that we may be born extremely wealthy. All signs that at one time or another we have used or misused such capabilities and situations badly in the past. To determine the ramifications of her planned life, we have to find out what happened after her NDE. Now, before we go into that, I want to talk is that I have written a book about how the past lives affect us, and book is called "The Problem Is the Solution." There will be links to that book at the bottom. I'll post this live stream on my Facebook channel, Your Spiritual Journey, onto YouTube and the BitChute. So please subscribe and ring the bell so we can tell you when our new videos are out. Now let's talk about Anna's life after NDE, because everyone's life after the NDE changes somewhat. After her revelation, Hannah started to get serious with her life. She began college and was determined to make a life for herself. One thing she hadn't done was to think carefully about the spiritual aspect of her NDE. The spirit world knew this and presented her with proof that the other side was real, and we are more than physical bodies who are born, grow, and die, not merely a mass composed of different molecules who are destined to be fertilizer. When Hannah was at a bed and breakfast on the English seaside, she was woken in the middle of the night by a blue light. She was told to go and take her mother to the hospital. When Hannah arrived home, she found her mother in dire straits. She took her to the hospital. Her mother was diagnosed with cancer and was operated on immediately. Throughout the ordeal of caring for her mother, Hannah would find white feathers placed just for her in the most unusual places. Each feather gave her hope. This set her off on a journey to understand the spiritual world. Along the way, she finished her master's degree and became a counselor. She married and had children. She even wrote a successful children's book. Her life after NDE suggests that Hannah was to be allowed to live a full life, one with a loving family, husband, and children. Hannah was obviously intelligent and capable. The spirit world didn't block her innate abilities. They gave her intelligence, grace, and creativity. This suggests that the spirit world, with permission from the supreme intelligence, God, saw in her wonderful attributes, characteristics which only needed to be encouraged to blossom. Hannah was put through a rough obstacle course. She fully saw the corruption of an institution, but then she was led to see the beauty of the idea behind the organization. She was encouraged to see God in the spirit world, not through the eyes of the Catholic Church, but with her own vision, which of course Spiritism encourages us not to listen to everything through blind faith, but to use rational thinking and our own faith given by our own determinations and rationalizations on how to have faith and to love God in the spirit world. She was led down a path to acknowledge an alternate dimension where love rules and we all to return to, hopefully better after each life. Imagine Hannah's life without her trials. Would she be resolute in dedicating herself to help others find answers? Would she fully understand how large organizations can evolve into self-serving entities? Would she find comfort in knowing that a benign spirituality is watching over us and guiding each individual to a better place? The trials presented may have seemed to be the biggest problems of her life at the time, but in fact, they were the solutions. They were the catalyst to remove the shell of selfishness of past lives and to bring forth her inner qualities. There is more than most of us realize out there. Our world isn't the simple one presented to us by our current culture. The meaning of life is one of ever ascending accumulation of knowledge, not just intellectual, but emotional capabilities. All of us are required to learn to love, be charitable, and honorable in every situation with every fellow human soul. It is a long trek. It is a long trek, but one with unimaginable rewards at the end of it. So I just want to thank you for listening to us. And again, I'd like to bring up that if you like what I've written about Hannah, and I write about other accounts and near death experiences and explain, I always say near death experiences are like timeouts taken where you have to leave class and talk to the vice principal and go, okay, this is what you've done right, this is what you've done wrong. Probably nicer than the vice principal was when you were in middle or junior high school. But again, Spiritism answers our questions so well. It tells us why we are here, why we are going through. Every episode that happens to you personally, most probably with 99%, was planned. There are very few random, completely random events. There are very few times when people intersect with your lives just out of happenstance. No, things are planned. The spirit world must be immense computing power to figure out all these intricate threads in our lives. Anyway, I want to say God bless to all of you. God bless.